Hello! Today's stories come from r/MaliciousCompliance. Today we've got 3 stories highlighting the latest breakthroughs in combating manglement in the workplace. Starting with, if you don't like it, there are plenty of other teams that work remote. All right, I'm not posting this one on Main because stupidly, I've used that username way too many places. So, this story is, as the majority of these are, the direct result of manglement having no idea what or how their employees work. Background: at the time, I worked on an on site desktop support team of about 13 people. These are your IT guys that typically wander around your workplace and go fix your computer in person. I had done this job for about a year before the pandemic hits. The Rona hits, and of course, 95% of my job's workforce is either moved to entirely remote work or a hybrid schedule. Now, what does that mean for a primarily on site second tier IT support team? Well, for one, it means that a lot of our workload shifted to being remote work. Secondly, it means that if something did need on hand support, we'd need to schedule that user to come into the office. And thirdly, it means that a lot of larger projects come to a grinding halt. Now, transitioning a workforce of thousands to remote work on a dime was, for all intents and purposes, a nightmare. We had to distribute thousands of laptops amidst multiple supply chain breakdowns and teach a pretty aged workforce how to use VPNs. Needless to say, we absolutely rocked it, despite all the hurdles. We spent a year plus of the pandemic managing hybrid schedules. Basically, for that entire time period, each one of us was on site at least 2 full days a week and then coming in for an hour or two at a time for appointments with users, if they didn't fit into our normal days. This worked out for everyone. Almost none of our users were ever regularly on site. We always had 2 to 3 people in the office at any given time for emergencies, and we smashed through ticket queues. Our team was heaped with praise on all sides. But this wouldn't be a malicious compliance story if that was the case, now would it? Malicious compliance. So, after having rocked support IT during a pandemic and receiving praise from every department, Manglement remembers a project that we've been putting off: lifecycle replacement, LCR. Lifecycle replacement is the fancy IT term for replacing computers when they get too old. We were supposed to start a massive LCR right before the pandemic, but due to some rather ridiculous moves on the part of Manglement, they dissolved the lifecycle team into desktop IT, it got delayed. Now they are in full panic mode and demanding massive quotas of LCRs are completed each week, despite 2 mitigating factors. We are not receiving enough computers in the first place to meet those quotas. It's hard to force masses of employees who have had a taste of work-life balance to come into the office to replace a whole computer with their whole working lives on them. So, quotas are not being met, and Manglement is beginning to sweat because their bosses are wondering why this thing that was supposed to be finished a year ago is barely even starting. Manglement decides that clearly desktop is to blame, and thus send out an edict that we are all to be on site 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, or else. Now, unfortunately, our whole team had gotten used to not having to pay for parking downtown every day, and we had realized that if the whole rest of the workforce is still working remotely, that us being in an empty building every day was completely pointless. We voiced our concern to our supervisor, who, being the dutiful mouthpiece of our mangler, immediately set up a meeting with the whole team and themselves. The meeting went a little like this. So, we're a little confused about this edict you've sent out, that we have to be on site a full day every day. You guys have been praising our hard work throughout the pandemic, and I think we've shown that we can responsibly manage hybrid schedules. With people moving back into offices, we've determined there's a greater need to have your team on site, and with the ticket backlog, we need to make sure the manpower is there to support the staff. But the backlog is due to us not having the equipment to distribute to the employees, as well as the majority of employees still working off-site. There's nobody around for us to regularly support. Well, unfortunately, these positions were always meant to be an on-site position. I decided to chime in. So, will you and supervisor be on site all week as our main line of support? Our job positions don't necessitate us to be on site, so we'll be coming in as needed. I added, to address your point about ticket counts, I wanted to point out that I pulled completed tickets for April pre-pandemic and April during the pandemic, and we actually completed more tickets working a hybrid schedule. Look, this was always meant to be an on site position. If you don't like it, then there are plenty of other teams who offer remote work. So, if we don't want to pay for gas and parking downtown every day, we're free to find other positions in the company that fit our needs better. If you want to discuss this further, then you can schedule time to meet with me when I'm in the office next Wednesday. Needless to say, the entire team was furious. We had rocked the pandemic, been told how efficient we were, and then were being punished because Manglement didn't want to explain to their bosses the concept of supply chain issues. I immediately began searching for another position in my company and very quickly found one that utilized some of my more niche skills with a very cool supervisor. I have ended up in a job that I have carte blanche to run as I see fit because I'm the only person with necessary experience to do so. But it doesn't end there. Throughout the pandemic, our team had been whittled down to maybe 9 of the original 13 people. Once I left, that left 8. 3 more followed suit and joined the remote help desk team, leaving 5 original team members. Fallout. Manglement decided at that time, since the primary focus was LCRs, that they could just hire a bunch of low-paid interns to fill in the empty spots. Now, the second whammy to this whole shebang is that recently our union had a new contract coming up, and Manglement apparently didn't take much time to read the new contract, because the contract forbids using interns to do the work of full-position union members. So now, desktop team consists of 5 original full IT employees and 5 interns who are only allowed to image computers. Their ticket queue still has tickets from June. I really do love these stories. Can't you just picture a smug, know-it-all manager with all the so-called solutions? Unfortunately, the long queue of service tickets probably didn't amount to anything in the way of positive change for OP. But at least OP found a better gig. Such a shame, though. Let's check out the comments where OP adds several examples of how they proactively tried to warn management ahead of time. Chaotic Bear said, "Everything is working great. Why do we even pay you? Everything is totally fracked. Why do we even pay you?" OP replied, "We've fracked everything up. Fix it, but you're not allowed to use some of the tools we gave you. But we work better with those tools. Why wouldn't we use them? Because my boss can't see you at your desk if you do." TX Drewdad said, "We want you to put out this fire, but first, let us tie your hands behind your back." Serenity added, "We need Excel on 50 new computers, but we only bought 1 license. Make it work." 1776 The Patriot said, "Typical management doesn't understand how IT or IT geeks work." OP added, "We were heated when they got rid of the LCR deployment team. We had a group of 4 guys who loved nothing more than the monotony of replacing computers and doing the exact same tickets in the dozens every day. Then they got folded into the troubleshooting team, and now they get yelled at for taking too many LCR tickets, while the original troubleshooting team gets yelled at for taking too many troubleshooting tickets. Nobody was happy." Wankel said, "So many times I read these accounts and can infer exactly the moment when the author and their team think about the management in question. This is going to go so poorly for you. And I wish to myself, should I ever be in that position, to voice that opinion out loud." OP replied, "I warned them dozens of times, privately, since I didn't want them to reject my opinion because they were losing face. Nobody wanted to give up work-life balance. Nobody wanted to pay for more parking. Nobody wanted to sit in an office to fix things they could fix from home. I told them, play by friggin' play, how things would pan out." Our second story is short, but makes up for it in the comments. It's titled, "I repeatedly tried telling the big box hardware store that the lawnmower waiting for pickup was not my lawnmower, but they wouldn't take no for an answer." So I think this falls into this category, but it all started with me purchasing a lawnmower at a big box hardware store. In the interest of keeping them anonymous, let's just call them Rob Lowe, or Lowe's for short. I walked in one day looking to finally purchase a new mower, and I was in luck as they had a smoking deal on a display model. Unprepared to be going home with a new mower that day, I didn't bring my truck. So I simply asked if I could set it aside and come back in a little bit with my truck. I returned maybe 30 minutes later and picked up my mower and headed home. This should be the end of the story, but weirdly, it isn't. Fast forward about 2 weeks later, and I get a call from Lowe's informing me that my mower is ready for pickup. Confused, I replied, "Pardon me?" So they reminded me that I ordered a mower about 2 weeks ago and it just arrived and is awaiting pickup. Now, I know most would have seized the opportunity right there, but I decided to be a good person and I explained to the employee that no, I didn't order a mower. I bought a floor model and set it aside to pick up later, which I did. The employee thanks me, apologizes for the confusion, and says he'll update the order. Welp, 1 week later, they call again, same thing. And I once again explain why it's not mine. They did this once a week for 3 weeks straight. And after the third time, I tell the wife, I swear, if they call me again, I'm going to pick up my mower. At this point, now I'm just excited. I'm watching my phone, hoping they'll call, because in my mind, I've earned it at this point, and I want my free mower. Well, lo and behold, week 4 hits, and guess who calls? I am now ready to accept my free mower, but I'm also unsure how this is going to play out. I don't know if it's paid for. I don't have a receipt. It seems like a long shot, so I simply tell the employee I'm so sorry I haven't been in yet to get it. But I got called out of town for work and just got back, and with that said, I have no idea where I put the receipt. The employee kindly replies, Oh, no worries. It's paid in full, so all you need is photo ID matching the name on the order. Perfect. I call the wife to let her know I'm picking up our new mower. She just laughs. Still positive that once I get there, they won't have a mower to give me. But you'll be happy to know I pull in, tell customer service I'm here for my mower, show them my ID, and next thing you know, some guy on a tow motor is loading a brand new, in the box, unassembled mower into the back of my truck, and off I go. Still have that mower today. I thought about returning the original afterwards, but I just got nervous it would somehow raise the alarms. Then I was going to sell it on Marketplace. But shortly after all this, I had bought a new house, and my best friend put in a lot of hours helping me move, and he too had been looking for a new mower, so I just gave it to him instead as a thanks for helping me. I still ended up with a brand new mower for essentially 60% off, and then was also able to pay for movers with the original one. So it was still a win-win. I genuinely tried telling them it wasn't my mower, but they insisted it was, and it would be rude to refuse their offer. I mean, you can only decline so many times before it gets rude, right? Short of escalating this to management, I'm really not sure how else OP could have approached this, and quite frankly, it would have been a further waste of his time anyway. At least he paid it forward in a manner of speaking. People share similar experiences and similar situations in the comments. Let's check them out. Fix My Bug shared, I went to Wally Mart a few weeks ago to pick up a box of 10 reams of paper for my work truck. They had two options, one ream for $9.99 or a case of 10 reams for $49.99. Well, I go through paper, so I pick up the case of 10. I take it to the self-checkout. I find one barcode on the box that will scan and it rings up for $9.99. I call the cashier over and explain it rang up the wrong price, and I show her on the website that it should be $49.99. So she voids it, looks for any other barcode. There isn't a second one, so she scans the one barcode and rings it up $10. She uses her handheld device and scans it $10. She looks at me with a blank stare and says, Not my problem. You want it for $10? Heck yeah, I do. She says, There you go, and walks away. Fred Sam shares, I bought a pair of folding tables from Home Depot, selected store pickup, and took them home. A week later, I got a call to come pick up my tables. Not being as ethical as you, I went and picked up 2 new folding tables. Well, another week goes by and another call. I tell the employee this time that I already got my tables, but he's insistent that these are mine for pickup. I don't really need 6 folding tables, but if they want to give 2 more to me, why not? Well, the next week I got another call. I don't need any more fracking folding tables. The employee again is insisting that I come get them, but this time I refuse. This was getting out of hand. They called for the next 2 weeks before I guess they canceled the order. So I ended up with a refund on the original 2 tables. I got 6 tables in all for free. I often imagine the folding table empire I could have had if I just kept accepting them. 4.5 billion said. Not only that, but you'd have a huge empire in a small space because they can fold. Tibby Sniffer said, My husband ordered a $70 webcam for me from Best Buy. When the order came, they'd actually sent an iPad Pro. He tried numerous times to return it. After a month of getting the runaround, he gave up and kept it. Edit to add, I think it was a combination of worrying he might have to pay for it and worrying someone was going to get into trouble. After many attempts to return it and talking to an attorney friend, he stopped worrying and kept it. He had it for a month before he actually opened it. International Jello said, "I'm impressed by everyone's honesty in this thread. There is zero chance I'd attempt to return that iPad, let alone numerous times. Sorry, Best Buy, not my problem." Our third story dives back into the manglement. It's titled, "You Will Come In When This Warehouse Opens." I used to work in a warehouse, and one day we got a new floor manager. He had this grand idea that he was going to make an already functional supply warehouse work even better. It is important to note that all of our deliveries were sent out on time, received on time, no workplace accidents other than the occasional stub toe or splinter from a wooden box. This place ran about as smoothly and efficient as possible, but it wasn't good enough for the new manager. He made it a point to check on everyone, getting into things that weren't his business and things he didn't know about. One of his biggest things was making sure that everyone was at work on time. We didn't have a time clock. We just wrote down when we got in and when we left. The new manager insisted that a punch card system would work much better for us, but the owners weren't willing to invest in that. So, new manager would spend every morning watching everyone come through the front door. We had maybe 50 people who worked there, so he made sure to count who came in and when. Anyone who walked in the door past 8:05 a.m. got written up. That is when he met the old guy. Old guy had been with the company pretty much since it opened. He knew everything and everyone there. Great guy, and everyone liked him. On the second or third day of new manager watching everyone come in, he sees old guy walking in the front doors at 8:15. New manager rips into old guy telling him that he was late, that it was unacceptable, and that he was getting written up. He is yelling in the middle of the warehouse where everyone can see and hear him. Old guy tries to explain, but gets told to shut up. New manager tops this all off with an order. "This warehouse opens at 8 a.m. sharp every day, 5 days a week, and I expect you at that door at 8 a.m. to begin your shift. You will be here when the warehouse opens. Is that understood?" Old guy just kind of smiles, takes the paperwork, and apologizes, stating that he would be in tomorrow at 8 a.m., just as he was told. The smug look on the new manager's face was picture perfect. He was certain that he had just fixed the biggest flaw in the company. The next day, at 8 a.m. sharp, old guy walked through the door and simply made sure that he was seen. Then, he went off into the warehouse. That day was a nightmare. Orders were backed up, trucks were waiting on paperwork, new manager is almost in tears because of the chaos. The owner comes in and starts trying to make sense of the situation with new manager, and they track the paperwork issue back to old guy. New manager is upset, but owner is concerned and asked old guy if everything is okay. Old guy just tries to hide his embarrassment, saying that new manager wrote him up the day before and he was told that he had to come in at 8 a.m., not at 4 a.m., like he always did to get all the orders and paperwork ready for the day. The day before, when he walked in the door, he had been coming in from a break. New manager tried to backpedal, saying he didn't know that it was old guy's fault. Owner knew better. After that, the new manager wasn't working at the warehouse anymore, or for the company. He went off to become a new manager for someplace else. Thankfully, old guy knew what was going to happen and had most of the paperwork done for the day already, so we weren't too behind when the smoke cleared. I made this as a comment to a different post, felt it deserved a full story. Enjoy. Oh, how delightful. Let's jump straight to the comments, which explain why you don't mess with the quote, old timer at work. In response to, old guy just tries to hide his embarrassment, Scalability said, "Pretty sure what he was hiding was a crap-eating grin. Laugh my butt off. Legend." For the Horde replied, "Haha, exactly." DRT said, "The moment old guy agrees with coming in at 8 a.m., you pretty much know he would be the guy who always was there ahead of time. Isn't there an old guy like that in every older company? The guy that never takes a break, and when he retires, you know crap is going to hit the fan in no time." Someone else added, "I worked with a guy that when he retired, they replaced him with 3 people, and they don't do half as good a job as he did." Serenity B added, "Fire all the people and replace them with 3 minimum wage employees, and then brag how you reduced average wages in the next meeting. and hope no one notices that total wage cost has nearly doubled. Weeds and Bugs and Sunshine said, "Never screw with an old guy in a business filled with young men." Rotus DW said, or to throw in a Terry Pratchettism, "Do not act incautiously when confronting little, bald, wrinkly, smiling men." From Thief of Time. Business Risk It said, "Is this a saying? If not, it should be. Who do we contact about making a new saying official?" Someone else said, "It's a variant of beware of an old man in a profession where men die young," which is one of those no one knows who originally said it quotes. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.